Hey, good morning, AP Lit folks. Um, we're talking today just quickly about what we're going to be doing this week and where our lessons are going to be focused, which are going to be on poetic terms or poetic devices and how they're actually employed within the poem. I gave you a list that's in the bundle on Google Classroom of the poetic terms that I'd like you to look up for this week. The ones that are bolded are the ones I'd like you to look up. It's about 20 terms, probably. If you can look those up, that would be great. We're only going to use a few right off the bat, but and the key is, I was saying to the other class that these are poetic devices are more like tools that a poet uses to shape what he or she is doing. They're not the raw materials that the bricks. Those are just the words themselves, but the poetic devices, which are part of the words, but they're more like tools that help sort of shape the meaning and tone. So let's quickly look at. I pulled up one of the poems that we did not read in class. It's a pretty famous one. It's an elegy, or in the elegiac form, and it's also a villanelle, which is a kind of an obscure French style. But for now, let's just look at the poem itself. We'll read it the first stanza here. This is called "Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night." So we're looking for some poetic devices here. We're looking for things like alliteration, which is repetition of consonant sounds, or things like assonance, which is repetition of vowel sounds. Imagery, personification, things like that. So let's just quickly look through the first stanza here. He says, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." So, okay, it's kind of an odd stanza. Talking to presumably someone who is, it's an elegy, so someone who's near death, and do not go gentle into that good night. So, right off the bat, to try to figure out what's happening, I find some alliteration in the first line. Right here, it says "go gentle good." Those G sounds. It's sort of a soft G sound, but it's also a G sound. It's kind of it's got an edge to it. G g g. Okay. It's got sort of a bouncy sound to it. The alliteration, it's kind of makes you feel like you're bumping into something. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. So right here we have old age in a personification, which is an interesting use of, old age is sort of a thing, a person. Should burn and rave at close of day. So that's a really interesting, it's sort of a contrast, a juxtaposition. You don't usually think of old age as burning and raving. They don't have a lot of raves at, Ocean View probably. And then close of day, we get this sort of an image of death as the close of day. So we have some strong imagery that suggests as the personification of old age should be intense and strong, which kind of makes more sense now that we heard those G sounds in the opening line. And then he finishes rage, rage against the dying of the light. So repetition of, we have both alliteration, rage, rage, and assonance, the A sound, A. And just repeating that word there, that when a poet repeats a word, that kind of repetition is for emphasis to, don't just rage once, rage twice against the dying of the light. So he has, again, that image of the day, the light, the brightness of life as sort of fading or dying the way a sunset might, which would take us into the night that he refers to. So just looking at how he uses the devices, he uses quite a bit of alliteration. He uses personification. He uses a number of images having to do with light and darkness, mostly having to do with the end of life being compared to the end of a day. And through all these devices, you get a sense of contrast, of revolt almost, that he is creating a sound and a tone of rebellion against this dying of the light. Okay, hope that helps, and I'll have another video up in a second.